You know, when you think of this space race, you probably picture this clean, heroic showdown between two superpowers, right? But the real story, oh, it's so much messier, and honestly, way more fascinating. It's a story with some really dark origins, full of hidden figures, and packed with incredible innovations that literally changed your world. So, let's dig into the real story, which starts not with heroes, but with a weapon.
Let's start with just a number, 20,000. That's the estimated number of people, prisoners from concentration camps, who died building the rocket that became the blueprint for our journey to the stars. Now, this isn't some minor detail. It is the dark, unavoidable foundation of this entire story. So yeah, to really understand how we reached for the moon, we have to go back to the darkest days of World War II, and to a machine that was both a technological marvel and an absolute instrument of terror. So, meet the V2. Its name literally means Vengeance Weapon 2. It was developed by Nazi Germany, and it was designed to do one thing: rain down destruction on cities like London and Antwerp. And yet somehow, this weapon of terror held the technological keys that would unlock the cosmos for both America and the Soviet Union. The breakthroughs here solved problems that are still fundamental to rocketry. I mean, think about it. How do you pump insane amounts of fuel into an engine without the engine just melting itself into a puddle? Well, the V2's designers figured it out with these super powerful turbopumps and a brilliant cooling system. These weren't just small improvements, these were the quantum leaps that made every single rocket that came after it possible. And at the very heart of this technological revolution were two brilliant men. Their lives were shaped in completely opposite ways by the brutal totalitarian regimes of the 20th century. And right here, this is where the central paradox of the space race really takes human form. For America, you have Wernher von Braun, a guy who, to live out his childhood dream of spaceflight, made a deal with the Nazi Party and was then secretly brought to the US. His rival in the USSR was Sergei Korolev, an absolute genius who was arrested during Stalin's purges, sent to a gulag where he almost died, only to be pulled out to lead the Soviet space program. His identity was so secret he was only ever known as the chief designer. One collaborated with a tyrant, the other was a victim of one, and these two men became the chief architects of the entire space race. Okay, so with these two men driving their programs forward, the stage was set. As the Cold War got colder, the real battleground shifted from Earth up into the heavens. The pace was just breathtaking. In October 1957, the world woke up to this faint, eerie beep, beep, beep from the Soviet satellite Sputnik 1. It was a technological shockwave that sent a wave of panic across the US. America scrambled and got its own satellite, Explore 1, up a few months later. But the Soviets just kept scoring these incredible firsts. The first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, then the first woman, Valentina Tereshkova. The US had its heroes like John Glenn, but for years it really felt like they were always playing catch-up.
So all the headlines were about the rockets and the astronauts. But behind all that, there was a completely different revolution happening. One powered not by rocket fuel, but by pure human brain power.
Get this, before John Glenn's historic orbital flight, he didn't entirely trust the new electronic computers. So he asked for one person, by name, Katherine Johnson, an African-American mathematician at NASA. In an era before we had digital calculators, she was known as a human computer. Her mind was the final safety check for America's most critical missions. And when John Glenn says he's not going until she says the numbers are good, well, that tells you everything about the hidden, absolutely essential work of people like her. So, with the race for orbit basically a dead heat, the United States made this incredibly bold declaration. They were going to land a man on the moon by the end of the decade. And this was going to require an engineering effort on a scale humanity had never, ever seen before. The machine they built to do it was the Saturn V. I mean, just look at the scale of this thing. It's taller than the Statue of Liberty. Its 5 massive engines generated more power than 85 Hoover dams combined. It was the ultimate expression of Wernher von Braun's V2 legacy, a colossal, brute force machine built for one single, audacious goal. But all that raw power is useless without a brain. And the brain of the Apollo spacecraft was its guidance computer. The software for it was developed by a team at MIT led by a woman named Margaret Hamilton. And this was completely revolutionary. At a time when programming was often seen as women's work, less important than building the hardware, Hamilton fought for it to be treated as a real engineering discipline. She's the one who actually coined the term we all use now, software engineering, to give it the respect it deserved.
And thank God she did, because her approach saved the most famous mission of all time. During the final nail-biting moments of the Apollo 11 landing, alarms start blaring in the cockpit. The computer is getting overloaded with data. But instead of crashing, the software, because of Hamilton's brilliant priority-based design, just automatically ignored the non-essential tasks to focus only on the most critical one, landing the spacecraft. Without her foresight, that one small step might have never happened.
The program's true resilience was really put to the test during Apollo 13. An explosion cripples their spacecraft, turning a moon mission into a desperate fight for survival. The crew had to use the lunar module as a tiny lifeboat, while back on Earth, engineers literally MacGyvered away to build a CO2 filter using duct tape, a sock, and some cardboard. Their safe return became known as Apollo's successful failure, and it proved that the program's greatest strength was its ability to solve impossible problems under unimaginable pressure.
The race to the moon was won, but the story doesn't stop there. Not even close. All the amazing technologies they invented to conquer space came back down to Earth, and they ended up reshaping our world in ways we totally take for granted now.
The impact is, well, it's all around us. That tiny little Apollo guidance computer, it helps create the very first market for integrated circuits, the microchips that are now the foundation of every smartphone and PC you've ever owned. The principles they use to track Sputnik, that's how we developed GPS. That cordless drill they designed for collecting moon rocks is the ancestor of your cordless vacuum. And the digital image processing they use to clean up pictures from the moon, that is the basis for CT and MRI scans. The list just goes on and on. And here is the ultimate irony of the whole thing. This intense, bitter, world-spanning competition eventually taught the rivals how to actually work together. In 1975, with the Cold War still very much raging, an American Apollo capsule docked with a Soviet Soyuz capsule up in orbit. The handshake between the commanders was televised all around the world, and it symbolized a whole new era. So we're left with this question. The whole journey began with a weapon built by slave labor, and it was fueled by a contest between two opposing ideologies. But along the way, it gave us heroes. It completely redefined the limits of technology, and ultimately, it may have shown us a path toward working together. Perhaps the greatest legacy of the race to the stars wasn't about who won, but about what we all learned when the race was finally over.